Are you still using a single password? Like today, are you still using a single password for everything? Please stop doing that, because just one reused password makes everything accessible. And the amount of times that I have seen so-and-so got hacked and all of our emails and passwords have been shared, it's just frustrating, and you shouldn't do that. But should you just trust another service out there that can get hacked? Yes, there are some very good ones. Proton apparently is quite good. Bitwarden is very good. I use that, and a lot of people swear by this one. And while you can self-host Bitwarden, I think it's either Bitwarden self-host or maybe VaultWarden, there are other solutions. I had a follower request a guide, and they specifically asked for Psono. So I'm going to go to our local host, and I'm going to search for password manager in features, and I think, there we go, Psono. This will run in Docker, so if you're running a Linux server, Pi will work for this, and it's got Docker, it'll run there, it'll run TrueNAS and Unraid. For this project, we're going to set up, you'll need an SMTP. For this, I'm going to use Purely Mail. Purely Mail is $10 a year. That is, I think, the cheapest email server provider that has POP and SMTP that you can ask for. I'm going to set this up in Unraid. I always feel Unraid is the easiest. Affiliate link in my bio if you're about to buy it. We're going to set up Postgres. We'll then edit the settings YAML. We'll set up Psono server, and we'll have to set up the Psono web client. Those two are needed so you can access. Then I'm going to use Pangolin. You can use Cloudflare. It's just going to be a little bit more configuration. Pangolin's just a little easier to set up tunnels to my home server, and I'll show you how to back up the data. So first off, I'm going to go into my account, and I'm going to create a new user. This user is going to be Psono. Psono, and I'm going to create a password, and then I'm going to save. I'm going to save that information, and I'm just coming to my docs here to get the configuration details. So we will need the SMTP and the port we'll use, and of course this will be SSL. And then that's all we need. This is because for registration and setup, it needs to send emails for authentication. Now in Unraid, we need to install a Postgres database. So I'm just going to search for Postgres, use Postgres 18. Doesn't really matter which one you use. It's just the one I'm using. Click install, and I will make sure this is Psono Postgres 18. The port is fine. Like always, check allocations to make sure that there is nothing else on that port. I'm not using cache for this. I'm using the user app data. And then I will create a password. I'm just going to go Psono and a user and the database Psono. Hit apply. When you're doing this, use more secure usernames and passwords for your databases, please. Okay, click done. Of course, all of the guides, all of the codes, everything I set up here is going to be in the Patreon. And if you're watching this on TikTok, the full widescreen is on the YouTube. We now need to go into the terminal. So click on the terminal, which is up here in the top right corner. Go down. Okay. So before we set things up, we need to get some keys, and we need to create some folders. So I'm going to mkdir to make a directory in my mount user app data Psono. Okay, and then I want to cd into that. So cd/mnt for mount user app data Psono. Then I need to generate some Psono keys. Just copying the code, paste it in. This is going to create a whole lot of keys we need. Secret keys, activations, all of this. So we need to save this. Just going to copy it, paste it into my notes. Now we need to create a settings, and we're going to copy it from the Psono documentation page. I'll link to that in the description. We're going to copy stuff, and then we're going to edit. So in the documentation, we have the Docker here. So I'm just going to, I can just copy that whole thing. Let's go back to terminal. All right, now I'm going to go nano, because I'm already in the folder. I can do settings.yaml, enter, and I'm going to paste in that information, all of those things I've just got from the documentation. Now we need to replace some things. So you see we have this data up here, the secret key, all of the you need to replace. I'm just going to do Control K to cut all of that, and then I'm copying from when we generated all of the keys, right click, paste, there we go, enter. Now the web client URL, I am going to change this to be psono.benlab.cc. This is the URL that I would use to log into this. You would use your own domain. So you will need a domain name for this. Of course, I should have said at the start, you will need a domain name for that. So whatever you're going to use, this is what you would do. It doesn't have to be a subdomain. That's just what I'm doing. Now scroll down to allowed domains, and that will be psono.benlab.cc, and go down to host URL, and we're going to replace psono.benlab.cc. Okay, now I'm going to set up that email data. So email from psono@benlab.cc. The email host was the SMTP purelymail.com. You don't have to use Purely Mail. This is just what I had. Like I said, it's $10 a year. It's fantastic for this type of stuff. The user was psono@benlab.cc. The password, copy that in. Excellent. The email port was 465. And use SSL needs to be true. This may be different for your SMTP service that you provide, or whatever you use. It should be fine though. Okay. Now going to the databases, the password, the databases. This is the Postgres we set up. I had a user in Unraid. If you've got different Docker containers, you can use Bridge. It's a pain to set up the networking. You want to put stuff on its own network. I'm not bothering about that. The easiest way to just deal with cross Docker communications within Unraid is just use the IP address of the server. So 192.168.60.111, and the port is fine. Okay, and then I should be fine. Okay, now I'm going to do Control O, enter to save, Control X to exit. Now back in Unraid, if I search for Psono install, okay, I'm going to change the port to 9800 or 9800, and I need to edit the container path. It's currently var lib Psono. You need to edit that. So click edit, and I'm going to change the container path to be /root/.Psono server. Hit save and apply. Now I'm gonna check. I may not have set permissions. So I need to go back into my terminal, add chmod, because I didn't give it any permissions to access the file, the folder I set up. chmod 755, and I want to give that to mount user at data Psono, and then I want to give chmod 644 to mount user at data Psono settings.yaml. Okay, back into here, go into Docker. I'll restart and see if we have any issues. So I'm just going to do start. Let's click on logs. There's an issue. Let's figure out what the issue is. So I want to go Docker logs --tail 100 PSONO. Wrong password. Okay, so you see it says error, connection failed, connection to server here at port there. Password is incorrect, so I added the wrong password. So I'll go and check what I did in Postgres. So okay, I've done it wrong. Okay, I'm just going to clear, and then I'll press up, and I'll see, scroll down to the Postgres. Okay, that looks right. Let's exit. That's correct. Let's try and start that again. Let's go up with the logs, still errored. Okay. So you're aware the issues I had is just because I went through and tested this before. It was an old issue. You won't have an error like that, so nothing to worry about. Okay, so now I can just do localhost 9080, and it says we are running. This is good. So the server up and running. Good. Next step. I'm going to go back into Unraid, and I am going to add a container. I'm going to call it Psono client, and the repository latest, and then I'm going to go to ports and variables. Call this, go to port name, web UI, container is 80, host port is 9810, and apply. Okay, hit done. Okay, you see we actually have another container, and because we've used the add container function, we should be able to get it to when there's an update pulled from the Docker, or when the Docker is updated, we should be able to run the normal up-to-date, or run the updates using the version that get the Unraid containers. Okay, now I'm going to set the domain name. My pangolin instance and I'm going to go into a public resource and we're going to add some resources. In resources, I'll add Psono, subdomain Psono, and we're going to add the services. So I want to add the IP address of the server, 192.168.60.111. That will change for you. And the port is 9800. This is for our server, the Psono server. And now we need to add the client. So add target, same IP address, but we are doing 9810. That's the first step. Now we need to go into advanced because we need to manage paths. So in our client, I want to match path prefix, and I just want to add a / and I make sure that's 100. And here I'm going to do a prefix / server, and the rewrite path prefix replace prefix with a / is 200. Click create resource. I need to turn off platform SSO, otherwise services won't work. And with luck, web is working. So I need to just test back in our terminal. Just going to see if it will get to the server. So it's having an error. Let's check our settings in Pangolin. Wrong setting. Okay, rewrite value, correct. Okay, and in our web, this needs to be a regex and no rewrite path. Okay, so that's the correct setting. Back in terminal, if I up with luck, I should get a 200. 200. Booyakasha. Okay, that should now be working, which means if I go to this URL, let's set up and register account and hope everything works. So I'm going to create a username, just going to call it testing, set my email, set a password, repeat the password, register. We should get, if all things went well, holding my breath. Oh, God, it's nice when it just works on the first go. So I'm going to wait for an email to come through. Okay, perfect. We have registration. So I'm going to copy the link address, go back to the register, activate, login. Brilliant. I'm going to log in now. Okay, ignore and continue. I've already set up on this before, so it should be done. So I now have a password manager, which will do full encryption locally and then save the encrypted data on the server. I have it hosted locally in a database, which I can back up. I can access this via the web. I can block. So when I set up allowed emails, you can set what emails can sign up. So if it's a company email only, you can set that. And then you've got user management, group management. I can add a new folder. I can add a new entry and so on and so on. Create. Now we have a system. I'm going to install the Chrome extension. I'm going to go and Psono, add to Arc, add the extension. Okay, so it's hard to see, but just here is the server. Now change this, the actual URL, to the server name you set up. So for me, it was Psono Ben Lab CC. And you'll see up here, it changes. This is when I've opened the Chrome extension. So we're going to log in. So testing, password was, and remember and trust, log in. I misspelled the server name. Hit approve. There we go. You can see now, there's the folder, and we've got full access. Brilliant. Now, the good thing about Psono is they have clients for all of the browsers. They have mobile apps as well. There's a file server module. So in that YAML file, there was a lot of additional functionality. If I go back to the documentation, you can see that there is, so you can allow others to register, do a lost password. So that's default off. You can enforce the matching of usernames and emails. So that's where you would have the allowed domain is, say, your company email, and then the user has to have a user, ben@benlab.cc would have to be the email I create, what I set it up with. So you can enforce that. There is a file server, so you can actually have encrypted and shared files, but you do need the files client for that as well. And a whole lot of additional features. So there's a ton of stuff you can do with Psono, more than you can with Bitwarden. So a little bit more company friendly. Now, as far as backups go, if we go to apps, we search for app data backup and we do an install. This is a plugin that will allow you to dump app data and other additional data to a third party, somewhere else you want. So click done when it's done. In settings, backup, restore app data. You can set what data, where it's going to go. You could have it on a remote file. There's a ton of places. And you can set this up to do a regular backup of the database somewhere third party. So if everything goes down, all of your usernames and passwords are safe. There we go. We've installed Psono. We've set up SMTP. On Unraid, we've set up our Postgres, and we've got it all going. Using Psono, we have now set up our own custom password manager.